Hello guys, welcome to another video. The Lament of an Immortal, Worlds Collide by IAWWMS. Chapter 17, The Steel Sentinels and the Valkyrie Corruption. Two blasts of energy collided with each other. Two great dragon titans lashed out at each other. Veldora, the storm dragon, fought happily against her rival, a dragon that could keep up with her attacks, Toru, the dragon of Armageddon. You are amazing girl, not many can keep up with me in battle. Do you have any deity as your lord and master? Veldora questioned as she laughed in excitement, for it had been a long time since she had faced someone with such unparalleled strength. Master and lord? You confuse things, you disgusting lizard. Unlike you, I'm not fighting because someone orders me to, I fight because I want to. To preserve the lives of these humans, pointed the girl as she lashed out strongly with a barrage of blows towards her opponent who was barely blocking. He could feel it. A power granted by being a beneficiary of a deity was emanating from her. But he saw something else. Beyond that power granted there was something else. A reason, a motive, a memory. A memory of a past love that made her change her life. The most important person for her was her greatest motivation. The life of a human is so short, compared to us. Humans are just larvae, Veldora pointed out, hoping to provoke her opponent. I didn't ask for your opinion, and honestly I don't care. This is my decision, I fight for whatever I want, he pronounced while preparing a blast of mouthfire. But his opponent was preparing a similar breath of black flares. And just as the two attacks were about to collide, a flash caught their attention. Bursts of several giant robots were present, several of the Chevaliers were being destroyed by the group of goblin riders. At the same time, the troops on the ground were trying to enter the citadel through the gap created by one of the attacking sentries. Formation, prepare to enter the city. The order is 0 survivors, pointed out an orc to his companions. HA. Looks like it's the end for humans in this world, laughed Veldora somewhat arrogantly. With them here, the protection of the city is guaranteed, pointed Toru as a mist covered the attackers only to vanish and reveal that they had all fallen down. No one will set foot inside this city, Yumini, the spirit of darkness, pointed out decisively. Ha, one spirit against a legion of enemies. Don't make me laugh, she expressed in a mocking manner, as the 9 Tempest sentries stood in front of the spirit guarding the crack in the city wall. Spirit? I wasn't talking about her, affirmed Toru while a huge flash of various colors manifested in front of the 9 sentinels. In front of them stood a legion of warrior women from the past who had proven their worth in battle, fulfilling the promise they made to their masters' wives. The terminals of Babylon's legacy made their presence known. Come what may, Seska said in Yumina's Brunhild unit. Whatever happens, said Leora at Gerholta of Els. Whatever they say, continued Monica in Ortland of Sue. No illegality will be allowed, affirmed Noelle in Lucia's Waltrode. The protectors of peace have arrived, pointed out Flora in Yeshward Light. Their destiny is to fall to justice, stated Fam in Helmwege de Lins. To bring balance in the world, pointed out Parsh in Hildegard's Sigrun. To bring back the smiles of the innocent, pointed out Tika in Lean's Grimgjerde. And protect the world from devastation, cooed Rosetta in Soccer's Rosweiss. And after a burst of lights and colors, the 9 terminals made a pose like the series that their master let see their creator remembering something of their past. The Valkyries are back. Why did we have to do something so embarrassing? Fam questioned somewhat seriously. Because it was Dr. Babylon's wish, and because the girls never wanted to do those ridiculous poses, pointed out Monica laughing. But it was fun, the doctor will be very happy, pointed out Leora. And while the girls were talking, everyone present was petrified and still at such an embarrassing spectacle. All but one, Veldora was more than excited, because for the first time he could see a presentation like the one in the sleeves his friend was showing him. That was magnificent. Ha 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 ha, Veldora laughed happily as he witnessed such a scene. Cut the crap, Yumini growled annoyed. And soon both teams started the dispute. The goblin riders were starting to attack the Valkyries, but the Valkyries were starting to fight back. Seska took up position with Brunhild in the rear, as did Rosetta and Tika. Soon the 9 terminals began to attack as the original Valkyrie pilots would do. It was not for less, the 9 had in their databases all the attack patterns of the former duchesses. Attack without rest. Apply all your strength, shouted the leader of the goblin riders. At the same time that a melody was heard coming from the unit that Rosetta was piloting, the terminal began to whisper to itself words of support. What's that sound? Said some of the invaders. Far from the battle, The immortal witch awoke after the last conflict against her former partner. The sound of battle far away, she could hear it in disbelief. Beat it? The king of pop's song. I must have hit my head hard, she said somewhat quizzically as she held her head. No, I don't have time to think about this. I have to stop them, she thought to herself as she used her magic to start levitating. Like gusts of wind that shook the sky, and footsteps that rumbled the earth, the Titan fight was intensifying. A blow evaded by Rimuru shattered a mountain. A kick dodged by Tuya destroyed an entire plain. The two Titans were beating each other relentlessly, seeing neither one's fatigue. There were no more words. There was nothing to stop them. They were two immovable forces. Tuya launched multiple elemental attacks, but Rimuru absorbed them quickly. Rimuru attacked with his black flare, but Tuya could barely block his attacks. Somewhat tired, Tuya created a gate under Rimuru's feet, making him fall into an empty universe. Soon Tuya followed him. Rimuru, somewhat puzzled, starts to look around searching. A lonely universe. Are you planning to lock me in this universe? Rimuru somewhat seriously questioned. No, I created this empty universe to test my abilities, replied Tuya while from his two hands a light started to generate. Star collision. Tuya shouted as 100 blue dwarfs were created and collided where Rimuru was. Soon the 100 stars were absorbed by Rimuru's ability, which made Tuya panic. But how? Tuya asked himself, very agitated. You're thousands of years away from being on my level, he pointed out with a grim smile Rimuru as he stretched out his hands and created over 1,000 stars covering the entire area. Damn it, Tuya said to himself as he gasped. Tell me something. Did you ever see thousands of stars explode at the same time? Rimuru said, but at that moment Seal intervened. Don't do it, Rimuru shouted at Seal, but she kept asking him not to do it, for she knew the consequences that would follow. If she were to kill the herald of the higher gods now, nothing would stop the gods from intervening and fighting Rimuru, which would trigger a battle which would destroy existence itself. Do it, Rimuru demanded, but Seal kept refusing. She could feel it, her master was acting on impulse. She could feel it, her master was losing his mind. He was acting more out of revenge than for his people. It was when Rimuru began to channel all her energy into her right arm. Soon a luminous flash blinded the two and a clone had been created, but it wasn't a clone as such, it was the corporeal embodiment of Seal. She had been separated from Rimuru at that moment. Wah! What is this? She questioned incredulously, as she looked straight ahead at Rimuru. For the time being I have separated you from me. The ties that bound us have been broken, Rimuru pointed out, looking at her in a determined manner. But at that moment a flash of divine aura covered Seal and she was transported away from the conflict. Rimuru turned to see Tuya, who had not fully recovered. Where did you send her? Rimuru questioned seriously. Don't blame me for everything, Tempest, Tuya pointed out in pain. Rimuru took a serious stance, raised his hand as he continued to channel his power. Well, where were we? He said as the thousands of suns exploded one after another. All the colossal explosion was received by Tuya, who couldn't avoid it and only used his prison magic as well as shield, wrapped with the little divinity he had in order to survive the attack. However, he wasn't strong enough to withstand the magnitude of the explosion, so he received part of the blasts. By the time the collision dissipated, Rimuru realized that Tuya was still alive, grabbed him by the neck and started choking him. You're too stubborn to understand the difference between us, aren't you? You're no match for me. You're just a rock in my way, exclaimed Rimuru to Tuya, as he used his power to return them to the world of battle. Then Rimuru let go of Tuya, which made him fall to the ground. SSSS. You know, I know very well that I'm not at your level. Your strength is colossal. I've never faced someone like you before, Tuya said, trying to get up, but at that moment Rimuru attacked him with a quick punch in the face, making him fall on his knees and hands to the ground. Even so, do you think I'll give up? Tuya questioned as he healed part of his wounds, stood up, moved into attack position. You're stupid. Do you want to go through with this? Rimuru pointed out as he quickly moved in front of Tuya and slammed his knee into his face. Ah, Tuya growled as the impact knocked him back. You shouldn't have gotten in my way, as he pulled out another sword and moved to thrust at Tuya. And just as he was about to take the impact, a black flare struck Rimuru, knocking him back momentarily. Stop, Rimuru, was heard from the skies. It was Azusa, the immortal witch had returned to battle. Azusa, run away from here, Tuya shouted worriedly. At that moment Rimuru created a web net in which she wrapped Azusa. Stay still, Azusa. As soon as I liquidate this guy, you'll be back to your old self, Rimuru affirmed while walking in front of Tuya. He quickly rejoined, but was barely able to block an attack. Damn you, let her go, Tuya pointed out with what little breath he had left. You used Azusa to do your dirty work, Rimuru stated while punching him in the stomach. Stop it, Rimuru. Stop it, please, Azusa shouted as she tried to break free, but at that moment, Rimuru grabbed Tuya's head. Your last words, Rimuru said as he placed his sword on Tuya's chest, right in front of his heart. Tuya could only make a slight nervous laugh. I will die, this time I will die. I failed them all. But, he thought as he slightly turned to see Azusa, and with a somewhat listless voice just whispered to her, forgive me. Goodbye. And at that moment the most powerful demon lord's sword pierced the heart of the herald of the gods. Azusa shouted as she clutched her head in pain. From her being a red aura could manifest, a terrifying divinity. The blonde color of her hair began to fade to a light purple, an intense reddish glow emanated from her eyes, as the cobweb faded on the spot. The guilt of luring Rimuru into the raids, the guilt of not being able to stop the conflict and now the apparent death of the boy who wanted to help her had caused Azusa's peak to snap. The overflowing energy had drawn the attention of everyone present at the conflict. Everyone was concerned about the power Azusa was emanating, even Rimuru who looked frightened, for now a goddess had fallen into the abyss of anguish and despair. The heart of Azusa, the immortal witch, the youngest goddess of them all had been corrupted. Azusa, Rimuru spoke to her worried, but she only saw him out of the corner of her eye. Tempest, Azusa growled in an almost incomprehensible voice.